Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa has finally got the powers. He's no longer a project manager. No, it's not the end of rolling blackouts, but powers and functions that have been given to him by the President. Cyril Ramaphosa has signed a proclamation transferring some of the powers and functions contained in the Electricity Regulation Act. Those duties were previously entrusted to the Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Kgosientsho. Now, one of the roles of the new minister will be electricity procurement. Let's get some reaction this afternoon from NGO Outa. I'm joined by its Executive Director, Stefanie Fick. Stefanie, good afternoon. Welcome to today, and thank you very much for your time. Yeah, he's got the power now. I mean, not electricity, but he's got powers, but his functions, they're clear what he's going to be doing. Will this really enable his job now, his functions fully as a Minister of Electricity?
If I may be honest, I think what we've seen is it's really as clear as mud. I think the proclamation, what it does is basically divides Section 34 of the Electricity Regulations Act. And Section 34 is about new electricity. Now, it's 1 and 2, and Ramokgopa has got the powers in terms of Section 1, and then parts of 34.2. But what if you read it, what seems to be what's going to be the problem is that he may strategically decide what new energy capacity we need, what type of electricity or generation we need, but the implementation thereof is still with Minister Mantashe.
Yeah, and that's what confused me. And that's what confused me a little bit, because it says other powers and functions contained in the Electricity Regulation Act, and Section 34 particularly, which I read earlier, including those related to the implementation of determinations made in terms of Section 34, will remain with the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy. So at the end of the day, the final say in terms of putting into action whatever has been agreed or proposed, or whatever the word is, by the Minister of Electricity depends on Mr. Mantashe.
Exactly. I couldn't have put it better. So, that procurement of the contracts and all of that still remains with Mr. Mantashe. So if, for example, Minister Ramokgopa decides that, for example, we need more wind power because this will add this amount of kilowatt to the grid, the procurement and the contracts and that implementation remains with Minister Mantashe. And if we think about it, Eskom is now sort of ruled by 3 ministers. Each of them have their own powers, and it seems that if they can't work together, this is still not gonna work, and it will definitely not work in favor of South Africans having the power.
Yeah, just on that, before I move away from this Section 34, Electricity Regulation Act 34, subsect 1. The key word that I'm reading here, and you've used it just a short while ago, it's determination. So the minister will determine that there's a new generation capacity that's needed. So he's just determining. The minister will determine the types of energy sources from which electricity must be generated. Thirdly, determine that electricity that's produced may only be sold to persons and whatever, and determine that electricity that's provided must be purchased by so he's a Minister of Electricity Determination. He's not going to be implementing anything.
No, because if you then look at 34.2, although he still have the power that may be necessary or incidental, the rest of the subsection was specifically excluded from his, powers, which say, his functions. And that says specifically undertake, management and development activities, including entering into contracts, purchase or hire or acquire, on behalf of the state or prospective tenders, etc. So there's clearly the difference between the two is one is the planning and the other one is the implementation. And this has now been divided into two. One minister will and determine, and the other one will act.
Will implement the determinations. So that's what the statement says from the president. This is just so confusing. But how does it balance, in your view, Stefan? How does it balance with the fact that the presidency says the minister will work full time with the ESCOM board and management to end load shedding and ensure that the energy action plan announced by the president is implemented without delay? It looks like to me, while he's been given this determination powers and functions, he is actually full-time overseeing the daily ops and the governance structures of ESCOM more than anything else, unless I'm reading it wrongly.
No, I don't think you're reading it wrongly. I think what we are all hearing is we're not quite sure, what is happening and who is doing what. I mean, what ESCOM needs is really implementation of the plans that has been discussed or have been discussed so many times. Again, all the ongoings in front of Parliament about what is wrong at ESCOM, whose fault it is. We need someone that will make sure that what is needed at ESCOM is implemented. In other words, let's stop the corruption. Let's stop the sabotage.
Yeah, to be fair to the presidency, they mention here that the minister will ensure that the energy action plan announced by the president is implemented without delay. But this energy action plan has been there for some time.
Exactly. If we don't see this plan now coming to fruition, all we are hearing is, all the good stuff that needs to happen. Yeah. But it should start happening now. And I don't know whether three ministers looking after ESCOM, who has his own board, is necessarily giving us the satisfaction that, sure, our electricity woes will come to an end.
Yeah, I wonder what Kgosientsho Ramokgopa himself thinks about his new functions and powers. I would really love to hear him, how he thinks this will enable his work. Yeah, thank you very much, Advocate Stefanie Fick from Outa, just giving us some reaction as a civil society organization to now the clarification that the government has given, the presidency has given, about the powers and functions of the Minister of Electricity in terms of Section 34 of the Electricity Regulation Act. But there's still that split around this whole issue in the very section that the determinations part is with the Minister of Electricity and the implementation, the rest of the implementation part is still with Mineral Resources and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe. We'll try and see exactly how does this mean. I think there's someone who can clarify it for us will be the Minister himself, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa.